Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Malted Bampot and welcome to the Independent for Wednesday the 5th of September. If you're new to the show, then you have stumbled onto a gold mine because the Independent is a daily show where we look at the newest games out that day and boil them down into a list of what's worth looking for. And we give a little bit of commentary and hopefully a bit of fun along the way. So it's a bit of a quiet day today. It's a Wednesday, so not a huge amount going on. All of our titles are PC titles, and they're all indie titles exclusively, which is great. I like days like this, and it's always fun to scour through Steam and find the best indie games coming out, because honestly, every single day brings a slew of good indie titles. The difficult part is finding them, because they're not always too obvious. That's where this show comes in. That was a nice segue, wasn't it? Anyway, without further ado, allow me to present the top 5 games releasing today. Kicking off today, we have PsyBurst releasing today on the PC. So I would describe this as a brawler. I don't know if that's completely accurate, but nevertheless, the developer describes it as an action side-scroller featuring 8 unique characters with many different skills. They say that it's a hybrid between a side-scroller and fighting game. So yeah, I mean, we could probably argue about the specific semantics of what this game actually is, but essentially you run about and you punch stuff, and you can do so with a co-op partner. And you can also fight that co-op partner in a versus mode, so that's cool. Nothing outrageously new here. We've seen this kind of stuff lots and lots of times before. But as far as indie games go, as far as the games of the day go, this is one of the better looking ones, hence why it's on today's list. And ultimately, is it a bad thing to have more choice? As the consumer, no. As a developer, yes. But this channel is first and foremost targeted towards the consumer, so it's good for us guys. Next up today, we have Gauge of Rage releasing on PC. So this is a frantic and gory arcade style top-down shooter that challenges you to build up and unleash your rage against a never-ending onslaught of undead. Zombies, as always, zombies. The more you destroy, the more rage you build up, and using that rage, you fill your gauge of rage, and then you get special powers and stuff. So if you've ever played Smash TV or seen any kind of game along those lines, you've seen similar stuff, but this one has zombies that vomit on you by the looks of it. As usual, you can expect things like about a dozen different melee weapons, including baseball bats, crowbars, laser swords, and guitars. You level up to unlock all kinds of new powers, weapons, maps, and mobs. Plug and play Xbox controller support featuring twin stick controls. But you can of course use keyboard and mouse. Next up today, we have Dead Frontier 2 entering early access, and it is a free-to-play game releasing on PC. So apparently this is an old school survival horror and an atmospheric world. That would help. Conserve your ammo and make every shot count, scavenge for scarce resources and rare equipment in the twisting corridors of expansive and ever-changing abandoned buildings. So, based on this trailer, I'm not entirely sure what the gameplay is. I mean, we do seem to have a bit of an over-the-shoulder shooter going on, but it's one of those trailers where you're kind of thinking, what's the gameplay on this? You know, this is an impressive trailer, but is it fun to play? And honestly, it's early stages in the game at this moment, and we won't know that until we get some reviews. And obviously there's still quite a bit of development to be done. Certainly the trailer is good, it's well put together, full of all the usual tropes such as completely out of context statements followed up by gunfire and sirens, you know, gonna run to the caterpillar when the clock strikes 10. Why? You'll know when it happens. Yeah, so just nonsense like that, but I guess it's to be expected from this kind of genre. It's trying to build up suspense, which, if it failed to do that, it wouldn't be a very good horror game, would it? So this will be ethical free-to-play, apparently. So spending real money will never give you a gameplay advantage. Only cosmetic items and utility upgrades are available from the shop. So that's good. That's good. Obviously, horror is not everybody's cup of tea, so if you are into it, it's worth giving it a shot. It's free to play, so what do you have to lose? And it appears that this is an online world, although I'm not entirely sure how contingent that is with other players. I only know that from the description you can fight against other people It says you can take to the streets and settle scores in gripping PvP. So I imagine that that does not involve co-op at this point in time. I don't know if it will in the future, but nevertheless, you've probably got an idea of whether you're interested in this or not by now. And today's penultimate entry is One Pew Day releasing on the PC. It's a very PC focused day. In fact, I think it's an exclusively PC focused day, but nevertheless, One Pew Day is a 2D vertical platformer telling the story of a bird pushed from its nest by its siblings. I don't know if that's correct or if that's a typo. Siblings. The player incarnates the poor fledgling that has to climb up the tree to find its home. To do so, he will need to answer many need from inhabitants. Yes, this is Chinglish or something, isn't it? Nevertheless, this does look like a colourful and certainly artsy platformer. How well it plays, I'm not entirely sure because it looks fairly slow, but slow platformers are a lot of people's bag, to be honest. A lot of people can't really stand things like Super Meat Boy where you slide about like a psychopath constantly, so could be worth a look. Is any day complete without a shmup? Well, apparently not. Echoes is back with a bang and in 3D. I'm not too familiar with Echoes 1 or 2, but I get the gist. This is a shoot 'em up, I believe. This time it's more intense and eye-bleeding than before, with the action coming at you from the sides, above and below, like any good RJ does. Retaining the great gameplay as before, Echoes 3 is now in full 3D, yay! There are 5 solar systems to play in, and for each you can choose to play in one of the 4 game modes: Echoes, Survivor, Speedrun and Big Bang. Yes, unlock the game's achievements to win upgrades, which will help you score higher and live longer. So this is an intense retro-style shoot-em-up game. Action is non-stop as you blast your way through ever-increasingly intense solar system levels. So, 4 different modes, 5 different solar systems, and 20 ways to play apparently. If you're into shoot-em-ups, then God, you have a lot of choice this weather. But that doesn't mean it's not a good thing. Choice is always good, as I say. Well, the only time I ever say that is on these shows, but yeah. Choice is always good. You know, you don't walk into a supermarket and just turn around and look at the person and say, do you know what? You know what? Choice is always good. You might draw some looks if you do that. Okay folks, my name is Malted Bampot and this has been The Independent for Wednesday the 5th of September. That's a weird sounding date for some reason. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel so that you can keep up with future installments, and fire a like my way down below. Also feel free to leave those comments. Okay folks, once again, I've been Malted Bampot, that's Malted with an M and Bampot with a B. Thanks very much for listening, and I'll see you again tomorrow.